What's up everybody, it's Matt from Peter Glenn, and in this video we're going to show you just a few of our favorite freeride boards for the 23-24 season. Let's check this out. All right, first up we have the Burton Hometown Hero. This is honestly probably one of their best-selling freeride boards ever. Definitely the best-selling board in their family tree line. They make a split board version of this, they make a kids version of this, but insane board for going out and basically riding the entire hill. But you're probably not spending much time in the park. They're actually doing a directional camber, so they basically do camber from the tail up towards the nose, and then when you get to the nose area beyond the bindings, you're actually getting a little bit of rocker. So this thing wants to set the tail down in the deep snow and really wants that nose to lift. In addition to that, they've got a big taper on this thing too, so the nose is actually wider than the tail, and that's basically giving you even more float when you get into the deep snow, because obviously if you're free riding, you're going to be going off the groomers every once in a while, maybe most of the time, and you're going to want as much float as you can get. And then on top of that, with the carbon and the fiberglass in this thing, with all the spring and pop, they're doing their sintered WFO base on this thing. It's basically wax that has been kind of baked into the base, so it actually makes this board crazy fast. All right, and then next up we have the Nitro SMP, and this is a pretty cool board because with the growing amount of free riders that are out there, and there's a lot of people that are getting into snowboarding that are a little bit older and they have no aspirations of going in the park, and this thing is actually kind of that lower priced but also easier riding free ride board. Definitely for those riders who are looking for that all mountain ride, but if they do go off the trails, they want something that's actually going to give them a little bit more float and a little bit more performance in one direction. Not that you can't ride this thing switch, but it is an incredible bang for the buck for a free ride board. Obviously a directional shape, we've got a little bit longer nose, a little bit shorter tail on this thing, so it will again sit down in the powder. They're doing a camber to rocker design, so we get all that power in between your feet, in and out of your turns when you are carving on groomers. A little bit of that lift in the nose and the tail to help get them up out of the snow and also give you that catch-free feel. And it does have their Bi-Light glass in there, so it does have a very easy, smooth ride. But again, with the shaping and then also their power pods underneath your feet where it comes out, this thing actually grips like a board that is much stiffer. And of course, on the bottom of this thing, we've got a centered base. So this thing is gonna wanna be nice and fast. And then next up, we've got the Jones Stratos. And this board has actually got a lot of popularity since it came out. And it's a little bit more than what you think it is. When you look at it, you think Jones, you think free riding, and you look at the shape of this thing and you think that it is a POW board, but it's actually an incredibly versatile all-mountain freeride board. One of the craziest things about it is it's actually not that bad in the park. It obviously is a directional shape. We've got a lot more nose. We've got a lot less tail. It does have a little bit of taper on it too, so the nose is a little bit wider than the tail. And when this thing does get into that deeper snow, it does want to sit the tail down and lift the nose up and float like a dream. But if you look at the nose and how much of that nose is actually lifted up off of the snow, and you go from contact point to contact point, you'll realize that once you do get this thing on some flatter snow, it's actually gonna feel closer to just your traditional all-mountain board than you would think. This thing does have the Traction Tech 3.0, so it's got that ultimate extra grip at your feet and in between your bindings. And the shape is a camber with rocker, so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're getting all of that power from the camber in between your feet, in and out of your turns, and we got a little bit of that rocker up in the nose and tail to give you that catch-free feel. And if that wasn't enough, it also does have the 3D shaping up in the nose and tail. So you're getting, again, even more catch-free feel, but when you do get into that deep snow, and something else that's pushing the snow away from the nose of the board, not just this way, but to the side, so you do get way better float. And if you are actually buttering around on this thing on the nose and tail, far less likely to catch an edge. And then inside the board, they're doing the Biax fiberglass, which gives it a nice, easy, smooth, controlled feel, but then they're adding some basalt stringers in there to give it the snap, the pop, and the edge hold of a board that would be a little bit stiffer. And then of course on the bottom of this thing, we do have a sintered base, but this thing is definitely one of the fastest, most versatile kind of all mountain freeride boards out there. And it actually does come in a split version as well, which tells you exactly how important this board is. All right, and then last up, the Capita Black black snowboard of death. This is actually kind of a legacy board for Capita. It's been in their lineup since day one. When it first came out though, it was a little bit more of an all mountain board, and then over the years it's kind of progressed into more of that freeride board. And I'll tell you, I rode this thing last year, got to test it out, and it is incredible. This is not a board for somebody that just wants to go out and cruise though. You have to be an aggressive rider. This thing is definitely a little bit stiffer, but mainly it's stiffer torsionally. So in and out of your turns, it's crazy, crazy quick. And it's a board that doesn't just want to cruise. It's a board that wants to go from edge to edge, and it wants to go from edge to edge right now. And if that wasn't enough, this thing actually has a ton of float too. It's got a little bit wider nose than it does tail, longer nose, and they also do a camber with a little bit more rocker in the nose, and then it's got just a tiny little flat spot with a little bit of rocker in the tail. So if you do want to ride this thing switch in the powder, you're still going to get an advantage there. And then inside this thing, it's got their thermopolymer hover core, it's got their carbon fleece, it's got their Amplitech V's, basically everything to add to this board so it actually is not only quick edge to edge, but it's a little bit more effortless too. It's not something where you feel like you're having to push the board. It really wants to jump itself from edge to edge. All right, so obviously those are just a few of our favorite freeride boards for the 23-24 season. If we did them all, this video would be 20 minutes long. But if you got any questions about these boards or any other freeride boards that we have at peterglenn.com, definitely leave some comments down below. We're on there every single day trying to answer your questions. We want to make sure we can get you into some rad gear, but most importantly, we want to make sure it's going to fit your specific riding style. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and definitely get that notification bell on too so you can find out when all the new videos drop, and grab yourself a new freeride board from peterglenn.com and get out and ride, because any day of riding is a good day of riding.